Hello, my bookish besties, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Adrian, and I like to read a little bit, but yep, quite a lot of it. So let's go ahead and discuss the 14 books that I read in the month of April. So in the month of April, I read 14 books, like I mentioned, which equaled 5,042 pages. My average star rating was a 3.5 stars. I read 1 fantasy, 1 romance, 8 YA books, and 4 kind of like mystery thrillers. My favorite book of the month was Clockwork Princess, and my least favorite was either one of the mindf series, like little novellas, or the Thorn Queen. Can't really decide, to be honest, but let's go ahead and break down those ratings. But first, let's discuss my April TBR. Okay, so of the 6 books on my April TBR, I started 2 of them and read 1 of them. So clearly we're not doing super well with our TBRs this year, but that is okay. You know, the TBR is more so just an idea of what we could read. It's not a must. But one of them I'm about to start like literally right after I finish this video. So like we're getting there, kind of. But anywho, let's go ahead and discuss the 14 books I read. Okay, so the first book I read in April was this ARC I got called Flickerstate. This is described as a YA catabasis, and honestly, I haven't read catabasis yet, but from what I kind of know of the vibes of catabasis, I would highly recommend this book if you enjoyed catabasis at all. This is basically about our main character, Nora. She is inflicted with this disease that she got because she has this magic, and sometimes when you perform the magic, beasts can come and they can bite you, and then basically you might die if you're bitten. And the cure for this is like it doesn't really exist, to be honest. So she goes to this college in hopes, well, I guess it's a high school. Anywho, she goes to school in hopes that she can maybe find the cure for this disease in one of their archives, like in their magical library, and this follows Nora as she competes in these trials to try to win one of the spots to be one of the archive assistants. It is super good. I have genuinely been thinking about this book pretty much since I finished it in early April. I really liked it. It kind of reminded me of that one movie, 21, where they're like counting cards, because cards kind of play a really big role in this book. And then it also reminded me a little bit of something like Sky High, where it was kind of like that found family. You know, someone's learning magic for the very first time. They're going to school for it. Everyone there's powers are a little bit different. There's a little bit of romance, a little bit of tension, etc. I really enjoyed this book. I would highly recommend it. I believe I rated this a 4-star. But since I can't stop thinking about it, like I'm tempted to bump it up. So, anywho, that's the first book I read. After that, I picked up Foxglove. I will admit, I do think this book suffered from second book syndrome a little bit. This is the second book in the Belladonna trilogy by Adeline Grace. This book was pretty good, but I could never really figure out like where the story was going. Basically, in the first book, we follow this main character named Signa, who falls in love with a certain deity, say he is death. And she is someone who can use her magic, basically. She can like cross the line over into the death threshold. Like she can almost die, but she doesn't. But when she crosses that threshold, she can talk to him, and she uses that ability to solve murders. And in the first book, we're solving a murder. This book, there's kind of a murder to be solved, but instead of solving it, we kind of follow these side characters a little bit. Like it felt like we were setting up book 3 quite a lot, which like I still enjoyed it. I think I rated it a 3.5 stars. It's just, I will be honest, I can't remember what I was saying. I got a package delivered, so I had to walk away for a moment. I think I was just saying that this book was good, but I was waiting for it to be great. I loved the first one, Belladonna, quite a lot, but this one I was kind of, like it was good. And I'm excited to read the third book. I just do think that this one suffered from second book syndrome a tad. So the next thing I picked up was City of Glass. This is the third book in the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I rated this a 4-star. I thought that it was actually so good. I think I technically rated it a 3.75, but on Goodreads it was a 4. This one basically is the epic conclusion to the trilogy. You know, there's a war, characters start to develop think, like everything just comes to light and it wraps up so neatly. And I had such a good time reading this. If you somehow don't know what the Immortal Instruments is about, basically our main character, Clary, discovers that she is a shadow hunter, which are these like half angel, half human beings that hunt the demons on our planet, on our world. So Clary gets thrown headfirst into this world of demons and vampires and werewolves and all of the good stuff. And we follow her and this group of shadow hunters as they are trying to defeat the big bad, basically. And it was really good. I had a really good time. I would highly recommend this series. There is a moment in this series that is super taboo that makes people not want to read it. But if you just go in with an open mind, okay, you should still read it, because just Google if it's real or not, you know? Like, it is obviously a plot device to make the characters not together. And it is very clear that the father figure is lying. But anywho, that's the Mortal Instruments. After that, these next couple of books I did pick up in my new releases vlog if you want to check that out. But I did next pick up The Thorn Queen. This is the second book in the Rose Bargain duology. This book I did unfortunately rate a 2-star. I just was super, super disappointed in the story. Some of the characters were acting super out of character, and the plot just didn't have the same like magical charm grippiness as the first book. The first book was so good and so fun, and I genuinely had like a silly, giddy, goofy time. Rated it 6 stars, okay? Like, loved the first book. This one, like I said, just a lot of the things I liked about the first book were missing, and I just kind of feel, I mentioned this in my reading vlog as well, I feel like this book could have just been like an extra chapter or two onto the first book, and we didn't need a whole like additional 300 pages of whatever this was, because I don't know, it just felt like a waste of time. But if you didn't know what the Rose Bargain is about, basically it's The Bachelor meets Bridgerton, because basically our main character is in, you know, Victorian England or kind of around there, and she is going to the Queen to ask for her bargain, which is usually this wish you can make to help you better get a suitor. So like maybe you can say, I want to remember everything because the man I like has a bad memory, or I want to have a slightly prettier face. But to make these bargains, you have to lose something. So like maybe you have a prettier face, but you no longer have a pinky. Whatever the scenario may be. But this year, something special is happening. They are doing a prince bargain. Like, the prince is an eligible bachelor for the first time ever, and he is a fae. And there are only 2 faes in this world, the prince and his mom, the queen, who makes all the bargains. And so you can give up your regular bargain and your chance of ever marrying like somebody else for a shot at his hand in marriage, which turns it into like this super fun trials-based game mechanic, which is just, it was so much fun. This one, like I mentioned, kind of lost a little bit of that for me. The romance in this was also lacking, which I was super disappointed about. And not only was the romance lacking, the way the characters acted when there was romantic moments, I guess, was super out of character. But anywho, that's enough about the Thorn Queen. After that, I picked up Cara Bastone's newest book. This is No Matter What. This is about a divorced couple who is trying really hard to make their marriage work. They're both doing these things to try to better themselves. So our main character, Roz, is she Vin? No, she's Roz. I hate that their names are similar-ish, and the fact that they're both 3 letters, that's pretty much the only similarity. But I hate that they're similar enough that like my brain can't differentiate them, I guess. But anywho, Roz discovers that Vin is trying to move out. So she goes through like this midlife crisis naturally, as a girl would, and signs up for this drawing class. And she discovers that it is one of her passions and she wants to do it. So this book basically follows them as they try really hard to rekindle their marriage, and will they or won't they? And what are their issues and can they solve them? And I thought it was really good. I flip-flopped between like a 2-star and a 4-star because on one hand, it obviously had, you know, such a raw and emotional story, but on the other hand, I, for some reason, wasn't jiving with the writing style of this one, which is weird because I don't remember feeling that way in Cara Bastone's other 2 books, but something about the way I want to say it was our FMC spoke, and her kind of thought process in this one really rubbed me the wrong way. I just wasn't loving it. But I do deep dive into that quite a lot in my reading vlog, which again, I will link down below and up top in the cards. So, anywho, that's no matter what. After that, which, if you can't tell by now, this was the month of Cassandra Clare. After that, I picked up the Eldest Curses book 1. This is the Red Scrolls of Magic. This follows Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood as they go kind of on this trip across Paris, and they end up somewhere else, but I can't remember where else they go. But anywho, they go on this adventure trying to solve this like mystery of this cult that claims that Magnus started it back in the day. And he's like, girl, no, I did not. So we follow them as they are trying really hard to figure out what the heck is happening. Did he start this cult? Is he the current leader of the cult? Like, what is happening? And it was a pretty good time. I ended up rating it 3 stars. I think it's realistically about a 3.5 because there was moments in here that were super good and it did make me tear up. And yeah, like I liked it. It just also was a little boring. Like, it did have those standout moments that were crazy. But overall, I think this was one of the slower books, but I still enjoyed it. And I would recommend, especially if you're doing the recommended reading order, which is the first 3 Mortal Instruments, this book, and then the books I'm about to talk about next. Which are, if you haven't guessed yet, the Infernal Devices trilogy. I did spend a 24-hour period reading all 3 of these back to back to back. I will say overall, I think this trilogy goes into my 6-star category. Each book individually was rated a little bit differently than that, but I think as a cohesive trilogy, this works so incredibly well, but let's break down each of them individually. So first we have Clockwork Angel. This is about Tessa. She is coming over to England to visit her brother, except when she gets to England, her brother's not there to pick her up. And then, because of that, she gets thrown similarly to Clary, but like completely different also at the same time. She also, though, gets thrown into kind of the Shadowhunter universe that she doesn't really know anything about. So we follow Tessa as she kind of is trying to solve the mystery of where the hell is her brother. Anywho, I thought this was really good. There is an iconic love triangle in this trilogy if you have somehow never heard of it. It follows our main female character. I was just talking about Tessa, and then this man named Will Herondale, who, if you ask me, is basically Damon Salvatore in a book. Like, it was crazy the amount of comparisons I was finding between the two. And it also follows James Carstairs, or also known as Jim, and I fear that I love both of them. If I was Tessa, how would you choose? How would you choose? I gave this first book a 4. I think in hindsight, I would give it a 4.25 because I did like it more than the second book, I believe. But I also wrote in my review the first 25% of this book was a little bit of a struggle for me to get into because we're following a character who I literally cannot stand. And also it's kind of just like world and relationship setting up. And I thought it was a little boring, but I loved the book overall. And then the second book is Clockwork Prince. This one I rated just like a solid 4 because I did like this one, like I mentioned, a little less than the first one. I do have a full dedicated vlog to these 3 books if you want to see my in-depth summaries and thoughts, but basically this one is a sequel, obviously, and it follows our characters once again as they are trying to solve and get closer to the main mystery / main villain of this trilogy. This one was giving major season 2 of the Vampire Diaries vibes, or maybe it was 3. I think it was giving season 3, and I will not elaborate on that. Go watch my vlog. Then this last book, Clockwork Princess, a literal piece of perfection. This book wraps up the trilogy flawlessly. I was bawling my eyeballs out. It was so good and so emotional, and I like genuinely, if you have not read this trilogy, could not recommend it enough. This book, similarly to the third Mortal Instruments books, there is a massive battle and all of these loose ends get tied up. The love triangle gets tied up. There's emotional moments, like crazy, rip your heart out, ouchie, emo feelings, character development moments, and dare I say, one of the best endings I've ever read, which is crazy town because I have read some really, really good books in my life. But anywho, that's Clockwork Princess. Again, without getting into spoilers, basically this one just wraps up everything nicely. So, highly would recommend. And then this next book I'm going to talk about, I will admit, I kind of sprinkled in the stories in between the other books, but I thought we'd talk about it all at once, and that is the mindf series by St. Abbey. I would say overall, I rated this book maybe a 3.5, but each individual story had different ratings. So let me go back. I did read the first story in March. It's in my March reading wrap up if you want to go check that one out on my thoughts about that. But basically, to summarize, I liked it. I was really giddy and goofy. I think I rated it a 4 stars, but in the first book, I did read a spoiler of how the series ended, and that kind of took me out of the story a little bit. I was like, what? And then, so book 2, called Sidetracked, I rated that a 3 stars. Book 2, I didn't love a ton from what I remember. It followed Lana as she, was doing more of her thing. And listen, I'm sorry, but I don't really like Lana all that much, so this book was a little bit of a struggle for me. I can't even remember what happens in book 2, other than I rated it a 3 stars. I just didn't care as much. But then we get to book 3, which I rated a 4 stars. It was my favorite, I think, of all 5. It dives pretty deep into a, found family female friendship that I really, really appreciated by the end of this book. I thought it was so good, and I just thought it made a lot of sense. And I appreciated where the story was going because of this female friendship and kind of the bond Lana was finally forming with somebody. But then we got to book 4, which I rated a 2 star. It really just felt like a filler book. There was just a lot of setup and stuff that I felt was unnecessary. It wasn't bad necessarily. I just don't think it was needed. And then the final book, I rated a 3 star. I feel like it was probably 3.5, but again, I just don't know that I care about Lana, which made the ending just not hit as hard, I think, if I had really cared about her. And also, I hate the ending. I hate the trajectory that Special Agent Logan goes on. To me, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. I guess it makes sense from the standpoint of his decision, but I don't understand some of his other decisions. I'm trying to be as vague as possible here. But yeah, I will say, I think that if they ever made this into a TV show or something, like a Criminal Minds Dexter-esque TV show, I would love it. I would eat it up. But something about reading it, it just didn't do it for me. Also, this book was so incredibly spicy, which I don't usually care about spice a ton, either way. I don't care if it's there or not there. But this book was just so unnecessarily spicy, I feel like. It was just so graphic at times. I don't know. Overall, I think I'd rate it a 3 star. I would never read it again, but I would recommend it. I think, it was fun. I've never read a book like it. I don't know. And then last but not least, I don't have a physical book to hold up or anything, so I'll insert a picture. But I did receive an advanced listener's copy of To Seek a Traitor's Son. This is the newest duology by Veronica Roth. I rated this a 4 star, but it was realistically probably a 3.75 because I will admit, for me, just listening to this, I struggled a little bit to pick up on who each character was, and sometimes I got a little lost in the plot, but I was enjoying myself, and it did have phenomenal narrators. So that being said, I would recommend the audiobook still, but I personally, if I had a choice, would go back and immersion read it or eyeball read it and have the audiobook as strictly maybe a reread. I really enjoyed the story, and I did enjoy our characters. It's just, at times, like I said, I got confused with just listening, which is okay. I think listening strictly to a fantasy book can sometimes lean into that. It's a little confusing, especially when every word is made up. All of the towns are made up. All of the, people's names are names that you don't hear every day. But what I did pick up on the story, I liked quite a lot. It was giving kind of maybe a Firefly vibe. It was about a planet and they are fighting, and there is a mysterious disease taking over their planet, and our main character gets told as a child or as a younger adult that she is the hope of Cedra. She is going to save them, but in doing so she will meet a man who she will fall in love with, but she's currently married, and there's all this crazy stuff, and then we follow their adventures from there. I did like it. I am struggling to decide if I want to continue the duology or not, which part of me is duh, it's only a duology, that's easy. But another part of me is I don't know that I have it in me to reread the book. And like I mentioned, I was confused just enough that I think I would have to watch a pretty in-depth summary or something like that, a recap maybe, to actually grasp what was happening to enjoy book 2. But again, like I said, the stuff I did grasp, I liked a lot. So I don't know, that's probably not the best review, but do with it what you will. My review basically boils down to, if you are interested in reading this book, I would highly recommend immersion reading if you want to read the audiobook at all. Or maybe just read it where you're paying way better attention than I did. But anywho, those are the 14 books I read in the month of April. Let me know down in the comments below what books you read and loved in April, and let me know what you're planning to read in May. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.